And welcome into the Wednesday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Wednesday morning. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping for homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts all show long on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We got a lot going on the show today. Paul Kuharsky from PaulKuharsky.com, his dedication level is high. He flew from Arizona yesterday. I talked to him last night at 7:30. He was boarding the plane. And actually, it was a little bit later than that, 8 o'clock. He was boarding the plane. He's going to be in studio today. So Kuharsky's dedication to the program, let it be noted, fresh off the trip to the owners' meetings in Arizona, he will be in here today in the second half of the program. So looking forward to that coming up later in the show. And as always, taking your thoughts all program long at 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How we doing? What's going on?
Doing okay. Another state, another day, whatever.
Ooh, what state are we in now? Indiana?
Oh, we're in Indiana now.
The Midwest tour for Joe Rexrode.
That's right.
Reconnecting with his people out there. You love to see it. Ian Safar, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. And you're driving all this, Joe? Those roads are notoriously terrible. How's the tar? How's the potholes? How's that whole situation going through the Midwest roads there? I've had some interesting experience driving through those parts.
I haven't been too bad.
Okay, good.
Yeah, obviously it's been mostly highway. I guess, East Lansing here and there, some potholes, but it's been all right.
Okay.
But yes, I know what you're talking about. We definitely get some bad potholes in the Midwest.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. We don't need any running out of gas situations like we've had before or anything too crazy.
Rexrode said we again. Is he still not a Southerner? He said we when referring to the Midwesterners.
Well, I think, can you not be both?
No.
No? Okay. I'm a native Midwesterner, so I'm a native Midwesterner. I guess is that an always a we thing, or I have to disavow it?
That's up to you.
Okay.
I'll let that stand. Whatever you want to do.
We the people of the United States of America.
What are your thoughts on Kuharsky's dedication? He was on a plane in Arizona last night at 8:30. He's going to be in here later today, allegedly.
I'll wait to applaud him until he actually shows up, but that's pretty good.
Robert Saleh addressing the media yesterday in Arizona at the coaches meeting. Joe, you'll be glad to know that Robert Saleh is looking for playmakers, and that could be on the offensive side. That can be on the defensive side. He wasn't asked about it, but I would assume it could also be on special teams as well. He did clarify edge rushers are playmakers. Said, quote, when you're drafting that high, you're looking at who can change the game in one play, and edge rushers can change the game in one play. Love, a very talented young man, and he can change it in one play. There's receivers who can change it in one play as well. So the Titans, Joe, looking for playmakers at number 4 overall. Breaking news on that front. There is one thing from the last 2 days, because I'll be honest with you, I watched all of Saleh's little press conference yesterday. It was fine. And I read what Mike Borgonzi had to say, and which was not a ton, what you expect this time of year. The one thing that they both have kind of gone out of their way, in my opinion, to talk about the last couple of days, Joe, is the running back room that they currently have. Borgonzi did this, and he started talking about Pollard and Spears, and kind of unprompted brought them up. And Saleh talked yesterday about the running back room. He says, I love the running back room. Pollard dropped over 100 on us last year. Tajay Spears has tremendous versatility. He's a 3-down back. They can both play with a physical mindset. I'm a believer in our backfield. I think it's a group that can help our team. I look at our running back room as one of the better ones in football. And I do wonder, is that just chatter? Are they going out of their way to talk about that because they're expressing confidence in the running back room? Are they going out of the way to talk about that because they're trying to, I don't know, get people to think they're not taking Jeremiah Love? I don't know. Like I've just noticed the last couple of days that it feels like both Borgonzi and Saleh are like, hey, let this be known. Like, we love Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears in our running back room.
Yeah, no, it's a good observation. It's a good question too. Yeah, because I don't know. Does it help them a lot if they're out there expressing confidence, like in terms of people not thinking they're going to take them? I don't know. It almost feels like, yeah, it almost just feels like they feel like they want to make them feel better about themselves.
Kind of, like if they don't take Love, like let's say that maybe they love Bailey and he's there, and you spend all this time before the draft like, God, we love Jeremiah Love. It's awesome. He's great. This is just amazing. Right. I don't know. It's something I've noticed.
Yeah, it definitely. It's like it seems maybe intentional in some way, but it's some. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is one of those things. Like if you're Tony Pollard sitting there, like, so what the hell? Think about how different his 2026 is, whether they take Jeremiah Love or not, and also Spears, right? I mean, yeah. Spears basically gets squeezed out. I think, although that's the interesting thing too, is like if they take Jeremiah Love, I mean, all three of those guys will be on the team, but you could still make the case that Spears could be a third down back. But then again, the whole point of taking Jeremiah Love is that he's going to play on third down too.
I think if Jeremiah Love gets drafted, Tajay Spears is going to get cut.
You think he's cut?
That's what my thought on that would be.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I mean, it's another third down back in reserve. But yeah, I mean, Pollard would, I think, certainly be still running back 1B or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a hugely different situation, and they obviously don't know if they're they don't know that they're taking Love. They don't know what's going to happen, so maybe that's just it, just to try to make sure that because I just don't know them saying that. I mean, is there anybody in the league that's going to be like, they like Pollard, huh? I don't know how that's really going to affect other teams.
Yeah, I mean, the team's right behind it. Well, you don't have to worry about the Titans taking Jeremiah Love because they love Tony Pollard.
They said they love him. I don't know. Forget about it.
I don't know. Another thing they've talked about, and Saleh brought this up too. Saleh was asked about Trubisky yesterday, and he went through the song and dance about getting a veteran quarterback who's played a lot of football back in there in the quarterback room, and how that's going to be good for Cam Ward and good for the room and all these things. And then he talked about don't discount Will Levis. Like Will Levis is still in there, still in the room, and looks forward to a good competition between the two. Borgonzi talked about Levis and that how he's still a part of things and all those things. I wonder, I mean, we're now less than a month away from the draft. It's still very difficult for me to imagine all three of them being there. I guess they could. I mean, I guess you could go into camp with Ward, Trubisky, and Levis. But, are you going to actually carry Levis on the roster when the time comes? I've got a difficult time believing that.
Probably not.
I wonder if we're preparing, trying to soften the ground here to maybe throw out a trade scenario. I mean, again, they're going to get like a 6th round pick back for Will Levis here, but they keep bringing him up in the quarterback room unprompted.
Yeah. That one just seems like it's that's the way it's going to go. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just like saying nice things about people. I guess so. There's nice guys like saying nice things about people. Speaking of trading, Ryan and Florida saying with the backs, maybe they're trying to trade them. I don't know that Saleh and Borgonzi saying nice things about Tony Pollard is going to increase the trade value of that player. So,
does Spears have any trade value? What are you getting back
from
Tajay Spears?
Probably not a lot. Now, I mean, Pollard maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
There's somebody out there needs a second back, you could get, I don't know what, but I don't know. Could you get a 5th for Pollard?
Maybe.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just think they're just these people who are being paid by them, whose careers might be changed here by the draft. They're just making sure they know they love them.
Yeah, I guess so. It's kumbaya in the Titans locker room right now.
There you go.
He did. He was interested to get PK's thoughts on this later. He did kind of. PK asked him about the CBA rules, where basically Cam Ward could be in the building while he's rehabbing, but Robert Saleh really can't talk to him about anything football related, which is objectively hilarious in the NFL. That's where we are. So Cam, how's the family doing?
Yeah.
Where'd you go eat last night? Everything going well?
Any sports you like? Like basketball, volleyball? You want to watch the Final Four?
Have you ever thrown a baseball? What's that? How's that like? Yeah, it's hilarious that in the NFL, that's where we are. So interested to get PK's thoughts on that later.
Yeah, there are some hilarious rules on that thing.
Yes, there are. 615.
They lead to bad offensive line play because they never get to practice.
They sure do. My goodness. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. We are off and running today on Robby and Rexrode, taking your thoughts on the Titans. We will get into Vanderbilt and Tennessee coming up later this hour. And again, Paul Kuharsky with us in the second half of the program. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
As you look at Cam Ward's development, how critical is it to make sure that running back room is right?
Yeah, always. It's, you're the best way to help a young quarterback is through run game and defense. And I've said it before. I love our running back room. Just last year, Tony Pollard dropped over 100 on us in San Francisco. So I think he's a damn good football player. It's a great 1-2 punch. They both run with physicality. They both have versatility out of the backfield. So I'm a believer in our backfield, and I think it's a group that can help our team.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. That was Robert Saleh yesterday at the NFL owners meetings out there in Arizona. By the way, have you seen the annual coaches picture, Joe, that comes out from that meeting? It's pretty fun.
I did. There's some people I don't even know who they are in that picture.
You get the LaFleurs sitting next to each other. I mean, Mike LaFleur is somehow smaller than Matt, which is just hilarious. You had John Harbaugh wearing like these white socks with these black loafers on. It was interesting attire from some of these coaches.
Yeah.
Where was Liam Cohen and Saleh? Were they next to each other?
I don't think they were next to each other.
Liam Cohen way to the left.
He was way to the left.
Very afraid.
Yeah.
I think Saleh was way to the right, right?
He was. Saleh did address that yesterday. Said that he and Liam Cohen are good. Said that it's all water under the bridge at this point, which I don't believe, but that's what he said.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do?
I think you should have just leaned into it. Like, yeah, I can't wait to see him twice a year. If he ever approaches me on the 50-yard line again, I'm going to punch him back to the sideline.
What's his name? Oh gosh, the guy from Fox.
Jay Glazer?
Did you see that little video? They had those guys are all out there on the patio hanging out. And of course, Sean Payton just can't shut up. He's just out there like, telling the guys how awesome he is.
I know, and Matt LaFleur is looking up at him like a lost puppy dog. It was fun.
Terrell's asking about the cut for those guys' numbers. I mean, I'm looking right now. Like the post June 1 cut would be. I mean, it's we're talking small. Yeah, cut post June 1. I mean, Tyjae Spears is $200,000. You're talking about $2 million for Pollard, but I mean, so Spears, it's basically nothing. So I mean, to your point, that's probably the move. I mean, I guess you still, unless it just goes further down the list than that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you keep a Spears over like a Mulling? I mean, like
if you're keeping Spears as a third guy at that point, like he better be a core special teams player for you. Like
for sure,
he's not going to get on the field. Like he's not going to play on offense. Like if Love and Pollard are healthy, he's not going to play.
I agree. So who's the more valuable? Special teams guy because Chestnut is a valued special teams guy.
Right.
So yeah, that might be it for Tyjae if they do it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens on that. I mean, look, they could cut Pollard, right? I mean, you could say, we've got Jeremiah Love. He's our bell cow running back. And, Spears, you can still do things with him offensively, get him in space and go, and he's younger and he's cheaper. You could cut Pollard. I mean, it'd be a $2 million cap hit or cap hit, like you said, in dead money. They'd save, over $7 million at that point. So maybe that's the way they go.
Sure,
I would kind of like the idea of,
could find somebody to trade a late pick.
Maybe so.
For him at some point in camp if you're just going to cut him.
Yeah, maybe so. That could happen.
I just wouldn't do that because one, obviously people get hurt. It's a good second option to have, and I would think that maybe he would be the best guy to have, even just as an example guy for Love. Just in terms of what he does as a running back. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like he'd still have some value even if you draft Love.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I'd rather them keep him around and then just kind of see what happens from there. That'd probably be it for Spears. But I mean, if Love is what you think he is, how much is Tony Pollard going to be playing? Probably not a ton, but you'd worry about that the year after. I mean, he'd be gone the year after that. So you'd be paying, a decent amount of money for a running back that ends up getting maybe like 100 touches on the year, maybe at that point. But that's worth it for 1 year. By the way, I'm looking at the over the cap, Joe, which the Titans fans have pointed out. The Titans still have $63 million in cap space, which is the most in the NFL. So still got a lot of cap space out there, Joe.
Well, that's not bad. It does mean you can use it next year. I mean, I don't know, like, what was the usage of that, that they could have done that they didn't do. You can could have got another receiver. Couldn't have,
Yeah.
By the way, is Juwan Jennings still out there?
He's still out
Somebody
there.
signed him?
Yeah, he's still out there.
He's still out there. All right.
I'd love to know what he's asking for.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of probably a little bit of overvaluing oneself on that one, probably. I mean, did a really good job for them, but yeah, I mean, there's still a limitation there. Yeah, I feel like it's a good thing for the Titans to have that money go to next year. They're going to need to add some players next year too.
I agree. And
I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would assume so.
And maybe they'll have the best draft ever, and they'll just be great.
I mean, they have more cap space in the NFL, according to Over the Cap, than anybody by like a lot. Like the next team with the most cap is Washington at $49 million. Titans are at 63. So you're talking like almost $14 million worth of cap more than the second place team. They're at a great cap spot.
It is. Now, if their offensive line, if they end up not having any real starters and they just have a bunch of backups and they're
that could be a problem,
mixing and matching, and then they have all that cap space, then that's where you're like, okay, what could you have done differently? And it's the answer is to pay a lot or go try to pay a lot for an actual starting center.
Could have got Linderbaum.
That'd be the answer, right?
Could have offered him more than the Raiders, which was just an absurd amount of money for a center, but you could have offered him more.
It's free agency.
It is indeed.
I'm just saying that, like that's, if they're bad, that number, and it's in particular, if they're bad at that spot, then that number will come up.
Yep, no doubt. By the way, Seattle has $33 million in cap space. So win the Super Bowl, and now you're in a good spot cap space wise. Didn't pay your Super Bowl MVP, but you do have some cap space.
Sounds like a well-run team.
It does. It does indeed. We'll see if the Titans could ever get to that point. Yeah, I mean, look, bottom line on the Saleh front, he didn't say a whole lot. The fact that he spent as much time as he did talking about like defensive players being playmakers is not surprising to me. We're going to get into some comments later in the show from Mike Herndon, who was with us yesterday, about, let's say they went the David Bailey route, or he brought up Ruben Bain a lot too. Whoever, Ruben Bain, David Bailey, Arvell Reese. Let's say they go defensive player with their first pick here. Where would that defense stand in terms of how much progress they've made from last year to this year, when you factor in not only the free agents, the draft at that point, but also like the coaching staff and their specialty on defense and Saleh's background on defense? Like, what kind of a defense are we talking about from last year to this year in terms of the improvement? Like, if you've got David Bailey on the edge over there, John Franklin Myers paired with Simmons up the middle, and Jermaine Johnson on the other side, like, where does that group stack up with some other of your, front fours around the NFL? It was interesting to get Herndon's thoughts on that yesterday, but it does. I mean, you do, Joe, start to allow your mind to wander a little bit of, man, I mean, you'd be, in my opinion, hard pressed to find a better interior combo around the league than Simmons and John Franklin Myers when you're just talking purely pass rush, right? From the middle. Those two are pretty darn good. And then if you add like a Bailey to that mix, I mean, all of a sudden the Titans front on defense becomes pretty formidable out there.
Yeah, well, Robert Saleh, one thing about him, obviously didn't win like he wanted to with the Jets, had a lot of success with the Niners. The one consistent thing is, like, he always had killer defensive fronts, right? Like, he doesn't coach in this league without that. So I mean, even now, like you said, like, they've upgraded it. Like, I think they've gotten to the point of, I mean, especially if we're just going to project Simmons next year to have the same kind of year, right? With the additions, they're solid. It could be pretty good. But yeah, you add someone like Bailey, and all of a sudden, like, on paper, it actually looks scary. And Really, when was the last time the Titans even had a part of their team that looked scary?
I mean,
the return game, I guess,
yeah,
last year.
Chim DK, I guess.
I mean,
but how often
like,
do they make the other team punt? Not very.
So there's that too. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. Something on the Vanderbilt and Tennessee front that has never happened that has a lot of people scratching their heads, particularly in Knoxville, and asking, what does this all mean? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. I got some tickets to give away to the Music City Rugby Showdown coming up at Geodis Park on Sunday, April the 19th. Nice. It's the first ever Major League Rugby match in the state of Tennessee. Be caller number 3, 615-737-1025. Call the 3 will win a pair of tickets to the Music City Rugby Showdown coming up at Geodis Park on Sunday, April the 19th. Rexrode became a rugby expert at the end of last year. So he may be there coming up on April 19th.
I did. In fact, it was this beautiful state of Indiana where I went to rugby nationals.
That's right.
Elkhart.
It's an intense sport, man. Very intense.
Yeah. No, man, it is no joke. No joke. Got a 18-year-old's back to prove it right now.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Joe, on the Vanderbilt and Tennessee front, so we just came off Vanderbilt sweeping Tennessee in baseball, which means if you start basically at last year's beginning of the academic calendar, right? You've got football season. Vanderbilt has the season that they have, and they close it out in the regular season by just demolishing Tennessee on the road at Neyland Stadium. You had the men's basketball team that lost the first game to Tennessee, won the second game on the road, and then won the rubber match in the SEC tournament. Women's basketball and what they did to Kim Caldwell this year. And then obviously the baseball team in Vanderbilt just swept Tennessee. So that means what? 7-1, the record in those sports combined for Vanderbilt against Tennessee in the academic calendar year to this point. Now we'll see, if Tennessee and Vanderbilt baseball see each other again in the SEC tournament or whatever coming up here. But right now, it's a pretty good run of dominance by Vanderbilt over this year against Tennessee. So if you're a Vanderbilt fan, number one, how much pride are you taking in that? Number two, what does that tell you about kind of where your athletic department is right now with how much success you've had against Tennessee? And on the Tennessee front, what does this mean with Vanderbilt basically kicking your butt in every sport right now? What does that mean for you as you move forward and kind of evaluate where you are as an athletic program? Joe, it's interesting times in this rivalry that we've not really seen before.
Yeah, I looked back yesterday, and Vanderbilt's never had a more dominant year than that with those sports. So we've talked some about this, about Tennessee, one, and their urgency and some of the different things going on with their programs. And obviously we've talked a lot about Vanderbilt, and the excitement about what's going on there. So let's try this real fast. So if you had to go next 5 years of those programs and you have to, you got to choose one way or the other, and that program is going to be more successful than the other one. This is for a lot of money, let's say. Let's just say it's hypothetically. Okay, so the next 5 years of Vanderbilt or Tennessee football?
Tennessee.
Okay.
I need to see it more than 1 year from Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Well, they've had two solid years. One really good.
One year. There's a big difference between this past year and the year before, but I hear you.
There is. And there's also, we're living in a world where Indiana is the reigning national champ.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not, like it's. I mean, I get it, but it also is like the world's kind of sideways, right, with some of this stuff. Okay, so men's basketball.
Well, Byington's going to be there. Tennessee just got to the Elite Eight. I mean, as long as Barnes is there, I'm probably going Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's one where, I mean, I guess it's like, it's hard to assume Barnes going to be there that whole time, and then it's going to be really interesting when he does decide to hang it up. He did commit to staying, a couple days ago, but, that's a hard one. Okay, women's basketball.
I think this one's pretty clear right now. Shea Ralph and Vanderbilt.
And then baseball.
I mean, I think I'd have to go Vandy because I have more trust in Tim Corbin. I have no idea about Elander yet, right? Like, I think it's too early to know one way or the other on him, but Corbin and his pretty established record at this point, I think I'd go Vandy. So I guess I'm 2-2.
Yeah. And I think that makes sense, So, that's and look, you can make the case for the other side. I mean, I think, I still think that Tennessee in football has, I mean, I think they've got like more young talent from recruiting classes that have built up under Josh Heupel, which should pay off more as we move forward. But, obviously we also don't see payrolls. We don't see like exactly what numbers people are working with. It does seem that Vanderbilt, is working with good numbers right now, but
yep.
Like that's another thing. Tennessee, I mean, they can't afford to not. I mean, the only program of all of those 8 that we mentioned where I'm concerned is, Tennessee women's basketball, who, by the way, let go, of an assistant coach the other day who actually has been one of their top recruiters. So I don't know exactly how to, totally read that.
Yep.
But I also still look at that program, and it may have to be with a new coach. I don't know. I mean, I think next year she's on the hot seat. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I don't know how hot, but at least a warm seat. I still look at that program and say it's still a program that to some extent should be self-sustaining, should be recruiting for itself and all that.
Yeah. And, the roster is going to be completely different at this point next year with how many people are transferring out. And you just mentioned the assistant coach who got fired. So maybe next year, I don't know, Kim Caldwell figures it out and they're right back into being, a team that's competing for, a spot in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 like Vanderbilt was this year. I have no idea. It's hard for right now to have much optimism on that front with her. Like the football part of this is interesting because, Tennessee, I think, is in an interesting spot this year from the standpoint of you just had a disappointing year last year from the standpoint of your defense was bad. The biggest question heading into your season last year was quarterback play, and it actually ended up being pretty good with Joey Aguilar for the most part. And you look to the other side in Vanderbilt with Diego Pavia, and he's probably the most important player in the history of that football program, right? I mean, is that even arguable?
Right.
Like, he's the most important player in the history
No.
of that football program. So now he's gone, and both of them have very high-level recruits that are in the quarterback room right now. So there's reasons for optimism from both of them. I think you also, you look at Tennessee's schedule this year, if you're just going the 1 year thing, and it's like, man, that's a pretty difficult schedule that they've got. And then you look at Vanderbilt, and it's like, are they going to be starting a true freshman at quarterback? And what's that going to mean for the short-term part of this? So long-term, I still think there's a chance that both Tennessee and Vanderbilt end up being in pretty good spots on the football front. They're just right now in very different situations.
Yeah. And with Vanderbilt, it's basically they kind of just have, that they're going to go with their guy. Right? I mean, I think that's how it's going to go down. Whereas Tennessee at least has multiple options there, multiple, high or multiple options of young, unproven, but still very good recruits.
Yep.
So competition is a very good thing. Yeah, I mean, I think you still look at everything in place, and I think it makes sense to favor Tennessee. There's definitely, Clark Lee, I think that they've got a lot of good things in place. I think they're going to be a solid football team. It's still asking a lot of a freshman next year. Now, then do you believe in Jared Curtis in year 2, 3?
Right.
Compared to, I don't know. It could either way could be stardom.
Well, the other part of this is and this is when you get into the just the world of college sports that we're in. When you're trying to project out 3 to 5 years and ask this question. Well, number one, it's hard to know which coaches will be there and which coaches won't 3 to 5 years from now. But number two, I don't know, is Jared Curtis going to be the quarterback in Vanderbilt in 3 years? Is Faison Brandon going to be at Tennessee in 3 years, or is he going to be playing for, I don't know, Texas or something, that's where we're at. It's so hard to project forward because you have no idea who's going to be there and who's not.
Right. Now, these programs, every single coach talks retention.
Yeah.
So if you think you have something, then you got to work with the player's agent, and you got to try to, hopefully it's you see that it's good to stay here. You're developing with us. We're going to make sure you get paid enough. So it's not like you just have to go somewhere that's throwing a huge bag at you, but yeah, you don't know for sure. I think with men's basketball, I liked a lot of the young guys that are in the Tennessee program. I don't know with some of them exactly how high the ceiling is, but there's actually a pretty good foundation in place there. Yep. Whereas with Vanderbilt, and by the way, I don't know how much it means. Our guy Sam Vicini pointed out that, Tyler Tanner's new agent is said NIL agent. So does that mean that he's leaning toward, staying in college? Is it possible that would be devastating for Vanderbilt if Tyler Tanner, stayed in college but went and played for someone else next year? I mean, that should be a high priority. Obviously, with Mark Byington, like the whole department, to make sure that if he's not going to the NBA, that he comes back to Vanderbilt for another year.
Well, it's
obviously, that's just a huge difference for next year's team, one way or the other.
Well, it's interesting too. Like, there's no doubt on the football front, Vanderbilt just had a better year than Tennessee, right? I mean, just no doubt. Not only did they destroy them head to head, but the record was better. So, I mean, Vanderbilt was better than Tennessee.
Right.
You look at the baseball front, we'll see. But, I mean, they just swept Tennessee. So, feeling pretty good about that if you're a Vanderbilt fan right now. Women's basketball, unquestionably. Like, Vanderbilt had a much better year than Tennessee did. Men's basketball is interesting because Vanderbilt beat them head-to-head twice. And if you're a Tennessee fan, you look at it and say, well, that's great. We got to the Elite Eight. You guys are out in the round of 32. So what does that all mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I think at the very end of the day, I mean, Tennessee gets the edge. I'd rather, either way, it's like, okay, you're going to lose 2 or 3 to this team, but one of you's out at 32 and one of you out of the Elite Eight. I mean, you're taking the Elite Eight, right?
Yes.
And it's the NCAA tournament is, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's there's great teams that get bounced early. There's runs that make no sense, but you're absolutely taking that. So you're right. That's where, I mean, and look, that program is, to me, maybe you don't say this when Tony Vitello is still here, but Tennessee men's basketball is the flagship program right now to me. And it's the one you feel most confident in every year, coming out and being a legitimate team, even if it's not top contender, like a team that's going to be in the tournament, you're going to have a chance to advance in the tournament. There's a certain standard of play and style of play that you can count on. That's to me right now, I think, what women's basketball is at Vanderbilt.
So what do we make of Vanderbilt's recent run of dominance against Tennessee? What does it mean for Vanderbilt and their athletic department moving forward? What does it mean for Tennessee? Take more of your thoughts on that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Tee it up with us at the 5th annual 615 Open coming up May the 28th at Hermitage Golf Course. We are supporting Folds of Honor to help them fund life-changing scholarships for families of America's fallen heroes. You can register now to play or sponsor at 615open.com. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Wednesday morning. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com will be with us in the second half of the program. We got a lot of stuff to get into with PK, so looking forward to that. Vanderbilt 7-1 when you combine football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball so far in this academic calendar year, which has never happened before, according to Rexrode's research that he's done here on this. So what does it mean for Vanderbilt? What does it mean for Tennessee? Taking your thoughts on that at 615-737-1025. You know, the baseball one, Joe, is the one where, like, I just don't know that we have a great idea yet. Like, obviously, they just swept Tennessee, so you feel good about that. But, like, I have no idea what Josh Elander is going to be as Tennessee's baseball coach yet. None. And I know there's, you know, every time they lose a game, there's just a tremendous amount of freak out that goes on because of the way it's been around here. Elander may end up being great. I just have no idea yet at this point.
Yeah. I mean, look, both of them are having tough years relative to preseason expectations. So, I mean, this may be something that obviously turns things around for Vanderbilt, but they still have an uphill battle here with this team. And with, you know, I guess it's kind of like Corbin is sort of in the same boat of like Rick Barnes, just in terms of, and in particular, I think the difference between those two is that Corbin always, you know, outspoken and always willing to tell it like it is. I mean, he openly hates this era, right? Of a lot of coaches do, but he's been willing to, you know, come out and say it. I mean, Corbin's only 64, but I mean, certainly he could decide to retire at any point. I mean, I think that early in this whole, I know that early in this whole change to the portal and NIL and everything, I mean, certainly, like, there was some serious discussions, like, do you want to keep doing this stuff the way it is? You know, just a year ago, they're the number one seed. So let's not forget that. But then, of course, it didn't go well in the postseason, but, like, they had a really good team. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just so hard. It's hard to project even more, of course. It's hard to project in any sport. But, like, in baseball, it's like, who's going to end up signing? Yep. You know, who's going to end up – it's hard to – I mean, Vanderbilt and Tennessee, I think, are both still top of the sport brands in terms of being attractive for players and things like that. But you just, you don't know on the longevity with Corbin, and you don't know at all just what's up with Elander and where that's going to go.
Well, and the other part of this is, like, on the athletic director front, right? I mean, I don't know how you couldn't feel good about Candace Lee and what she's done, specifically from a coach hiring standpoint, right? Like, she hired Clark Lee, and looking like a pretty darn good hire, right? Mark Byington looks like a pretty darn good hire. Shea Ralph, I mean, it's Corbin's been there forever, obviously, but the hiring of the coaches in these sports that we're discussing, Candace Lee has done an outstanding job. Now, on the Danny White front, you and I would both agree. I think, Josh Heupel has superseded what we thought what he would be when he was hired to be the football coach at Tennessee. So Heupel has been a good hire by Danny White. Now, is Josh Heupel going to be a coach that gets them consistently to the college football playoff and gives them a chance to compete for, I mean, I hesitate to even say SEC championships anymore because who cares, but competes for, national championships? Does he have a run in him to, make a deep run in the college football playoff? I don't know. We'll see what happens on that front. Obviously Danny White did not hire Rick Barnes. He did hire Kim Caldwell, and that's not looking great at the moment. We'll see if that changes. And he didn't hire Vitello, but he did make the decision to hire Elander when Vitello left, which I think most people probably would have made that decision. So, like, the hiring part of this from the two athletic directors, it's gone great so far for Candace Lee. And we're going to see, what does Elander look like? Does Kim Caldwell turn things around? What's, in store in the not too distant future for Heupel? Are you looking for a new football coach at any point here in the next 2 or 3 years? Like, all that's pretty interesting on the AD front as well.
Yeah, Danny White edged out Candace Lee for AD of the year last summer. I mean, gosh, I got to think she's a lock this year for that. Like you said, those hires are tremendous. With Danny White, really, not that he doesn't. Of course, he gets credit for the Josh Heupel hire, but it was a guy, he had been his guy at the previous stop, and there were Tony Elliott certainly was a guy that they got serious with before that and stuff like that. So it's a little different. Kim Caldwell would be the Danny White and the classic, like he's known as someone who finds coaching talent. So if it worked out, that'd be a great example. It just isn't right now. So we're just gonna have to see where that goes. And yeah, I think the Elander thing is, like you said, it's when you're put in that spot and as much success as that program has had, obviously you have a lot of familiarity with him, right? I would think, as an AD. So it's like, I think that almost, it would be a 90% plus rate. I would think of any AD in that spot probably does the exact same thing. So Caldwell's like the one hire where it's like that's the example of him kind of going off the beaten path and finding a coach, which has worked really well for him in the past, just isn't right now. But yeah, it's a pretty big difference in just the overall quality of those AD hires. Although, again, like you said, Heupel, still, you get credit for that, and it's been good.
Oh, by the way, like, the interesting thing about Caldwell is the first year I thought she like dramatically overachieved, and then this past year it was bad. True. Like that last year, this past year dramatically underachieved. So I don't know what's year 3 look like. Is it somewhere in the middle, or is it an extreme one way or the other? We're gonna find out. But that part of it is, you're basically, it kind of feels like starting over in year 3 with her, which is not a great place to be.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Tennessee fans are down on her, slash out on her. But if you're in her camp, if you want to look at from her perspective, what you hope is, look, sometimes in this era, you're going to get teams that just don't mesh. That's still on you. You still have to take everything into account, and you have to build a team in 1 year. So it's still on you. But is it possible that you just have a kind of a bad concoction of personalities or whatever, and that you can kind of wipe the slate clean? You still have the power of the Tennessee brand. You have a lot of money to go out there, and you can get it right back. I mean, that's the hope and the argument from her perspective. But again, that's a lot of pressure to, okay, well then get it right now.
By the way, Vitello rolled off 2 wins in a row. They scored 9 runs last night. They're back to 2-3. So the march to 153-9 remains on for the San Francisco Giants.
Did you see the quote?
159-3, if I could speak properly.
Did you see the quote he had?
I did not.
Okay. See, I should have had this ready for now this was I think at this is after one of their recent losses. Let's see. I really don't feel like there's been a tightness like waiting for bad things to happen or guys yelling at each other. I just think there's been an emotional charge of really wanting to do well. If you ask Kanye, I think he's out with a new album. If you try hard, you die hard. Strange fellow, but he don't miss much on the music. Not that you asked, end quote. God bless you, Tony Vitello.
Here we go.
God bless you.
Here we go. Good stuff on that front. That's going to be, again, when you're talking every day, it's going to be, by the time we get to July, I mean, good grief. It's going to be kind of amazing. See what
filling the notebooks up, filling them up.
One texter says, as an Alabama fan that listens to people talk about Tennessee all week long, besides for basketball and a decent football team, I don't understand the hype behind Tennessee. Vanderbilt, to me, has a clear, better future, especially with NIL. I think Vanderbilt will start winning most of the head-to-head with Tennessee. This is from an Alabama fan, Joe. There you go.
Interesting. See, Vanderbilt, NIL, and someone else earlier, a Vandy fan, was like, thank you, so glad for NIL. It's a great thing. And I agree, but like the
thing is, Tennessee probably has more NIL.
Right, that's the thing. I mean, Tennessee certainly has a deeper bench, right? I mean, it was a massive public school. That's just now. You get a few people. I mean, Michigan has like one guy who went to Illinois who just is a mega billionaire. Just Bryce Underwood, come on, there we go, buddy. So like you don't necessarily have to have, but I still feel like it helps to have as many different possibilities as you can. Which, I don't look at this and say, wow, Vanderbilt's just going to blow Tennessee away with the money.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. 737-1025. We had Mike Herndon on the show yesterday, and boy, does he love this group of edge rushers. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Wednesday morning. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping for homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com will be with us in the second half of the program. So looking forward to that. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. We had Mike Herndon from paulkuharsky.com on with us yesterday, and we got into a lot of different things with Mike, but one thing we talked about was edge rusher and the possibility of going there at number 4. So whether it's David Bailey, whether it's Arvell Reese, if he slides down, Ruben Bain, what's that going to look like when the draft comes around? Got into all those possibilities with Herndon, who loves David Bailey, and made that very clear on the show yesterday. Here's what Mike Herndon had to say on David Bailey and the edge rusher group yesterday on Robby and Rexrode.
I think for me, and this is kind of where I've been for a while, I think it's David Bailey. And, I know a lot of people love Jeremiah Love. Some people are Ruben Bain fans, but for me, it's Bailey. And I think, the value of the position, the fact that, he does have the profile, I think, of an elite edge rusher. And I think somehow along the way that this edge class at the top has gotten discounted as if these are not blue chip players, because everybody keeps saying, well, there's no blue chip players at premium positions. I think there are. I think both Bain and Bailey are. Now, they aren't perfect prospects. These are not Myles Garrett level prospects, but are they close to a Will Anderson level prospect? Are they close to, are they better than Abdul Carter? I think they're better than Abdul Carter was last year, both of them. And so I think David Bailey, to me, is the guy. I mean, the production, he had, I think, 81 pressures last year, 14 or 15 sacks, has been one of the most productive edge rushers. If you look at win rate, he had like a 38% win rate on true pass sets, which is an insane number historically, better than pretty much, I think it may be better than any edge rusher coming out in PFF's kind of charting history. So I think this idea that Bailey and Bain are not elite edge rushers is nonsense. And I would rather have one of those guys, and specifically Bailey, just because I think the profile, the arm length, the speed, the explosiveness, the get off, all that stuff, I think that's all going to translate. And I think he's going to be one of the best pass rushers in the NFL here in a few years.
So that was Mike Herndon yesterday on the show. A couple things from that, Joe. Number one, boy, them birds sure were coming through yesterday, weren't they?
They were.
Yeah.
Do you miss them? Did you get a little reminiscing from yesterday?
Yeah, I kind of do.
The sweet sounds of those birds.
I knew they were
It sounded almost like they were making, like it was like patterned, like they were singing a song there.
I knew they were loud. I didn't think they were that loud. Good grief.
There were a lot of comments yesterday. It didn't come through for me that much, but like listening to that, I was like, oh, now I see why people were commenting so much about the birds yesterday.
I could hardly listen to Herndon. I was like, listen to the birds back there. It's good stuff. So number one, shout out to the birds. Boy, they're coming through strong in that segment yesterday. And number two, Mike Herndon loves him some David Bailey. He said, I don't really understand throughout this process how basically some of these edge rushers, in his opinion, have been devalued. Says that he thinks Bailey and Bain are clearly better than Abdul Carter from a year ago. Specifically Bailey, like you heard some of the numbers that he threw out there on the Bailey front. So, Herndon, I think if possible, Joe, talk to me even more into David Bailey yesterday if he's there. That's already where I was leaning anyway, but I enjoyed what Mike Herndon had to say on the David Bailey front.
Yeah, and we've talked some about it before, like the comparisons, like Will Anderson. We see what he's become now. And he was a big-time prospect, but I didn't know for sure. You watch him in Alabama, obviously you could see the talent, you can see the ability. I remember it's like, man, I watched, oh my goodness, the right tackle who plays for the Bears now, whose name is eluding
Darnell
me.
Wright.
Yes, thank you. Darnell Wright completely just without help, really, in that game, handle Will Anderson. And it's like, yeah, that kind of sticks out in my mind. Like, am I putting too much stock in it? Yeah, well, it turns out I was putting too much stock in it. But the point is, if you can tell me that David Bailey's in the range of Will Anderson, you telling me that that's not what the Titans should do? It's 100% what the Titans should do.
I agree, and I'm beginning to have more and more doubts that he's going to be there. But Herndon brought it up yesterday. Thinking about that front, like if you got your two guys in the interior that we talked about with Simmons and John Franklin Myers, and you add a legitimate pass rushing threat coming off the edge. And look, I have no idea what Jermaine Johnson is going to be. You know, he's been a good player in the league. He's been a good player under Robert Saleh. Obviously, there's a reason he went to go get him. But, at this stage in his career, given the injury history, what's he going to be? I don't know. We'll find out. But if you add a legitimate guy off the edge in David Bailey, like to me, that'd be hard to pass up when you think about what that's going to mean for your defense. And I know we've talked about the help for the quarterback thing, but as we talked about to end yesterday's show, they have not drafted a first-round edge rusher since 2010. That's 16 years ago, Joe. That's a long time in the NFL. Given how important that position is, that's a long time in the NFL not to go that route. Not that that's the reason why you do it. Not that that's, your driving motivation behind doing it. But I look at the number 4 pick as like, how do you come away with players that you don't have the opportunity to get very often, right? Like, and look, Jeremiah Love falls into that category. I think he's a player that you don't have the opportunity to get very often. It's not like Jeremiah Love is out there growing on trees every offseason. But I do think it's easier to get, good players at that position. I think getting a young stud pass rusher is a very difficult thing to do in this league if you're not doing it in the draft. And history shows us, Joe, you pretty much have to do it very high in the draft. There are some outliers here and there, but by and large, when you look at some of these elite pass rushers in the NFL, a lot of them are pretty highly drafted in the first round. So the more information you get on it, the more you kind of look at it. I am praying that David Bailey is there at number 4 for the Tennessee Titans. I am.
Yeah, no, I think it's I agree with all that. It's so many of them are. It's just obvious. You got to go get that guy, and they don't all work out. The Jags can tell you they don't all work out like you hope, but the Bosas and Garrett and now Will Anderson. I mean, it's hard to get those guys. They're premium for a reason. They go there for a reason. They're not available otherwise for a reason, and you may have an opportunity. I mean, we are. I assume then, like, we are just dismissing Arvell Reese as an option, right? I mean, is it? I mean, are we to the point
where if he's there, I'd take him. But I just don't think he's going to be there.
Yeah. So no, it's. I mean, like, and I understand, and I've said it, and I'm not going to change. Like, if they have that choice, if they actually have the Bailey Love choice and they go Love, like, I'm not upset about it, but it's not what I would have done. It's not what I would do. And I just think that, like, your chances of, your chances of being happy with the pick and validating that pick are just a lot easier with, if you take Bailey, or a lot more likely if you take Bailey.
Mike from Clarksville says, the Titans could always do what the Texans did when they got Anderson, which is trade right back up. I remember that well. Texans took Stroud. They traded right back up and got Anderson. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, and for all the, it hasn't been perfect for them, but think about that. That took them from terrible to good.
Yeah.
Like, boom, snap your fingers. You got a quarterback and you got a great edge rusher. And there were other things too, of course, not just those two things, but those are the two most important things probably.
I would agree. One texter says Saleh has already proven that a top 5 to 10 defense is great, but a bad offense will get you fired. And yes, I hear that. But look, let's not kid ourselves. The bad offense that they had in New York was directly a reflection of the quarterback, right? Like, Zach Wilson was terrible. And then they went and signed Aaron Rodgers, and he hurt himself 4 snaps into the game. And then he was done the rest of the season. So, the quarterback is going to – I said this yesterday. The quarterback is still the most important part of this. And, yeah, like, he needs some help. But if the quarterback play you're getting from Cam Ward is as bad as the quarterback play they got from Zach Wilson, then none of the rest of this is even going to matter. Like, it's just, you're going to be screwed at that point. And I don't think that's what Cam Ward is. Like, and there's been a Levis / Ward discussion on the YouTube chat earlier today, which I'm not going to entertain too much. But, I don't know what Cam Ward is. Cam Ward certainly did not have like some great rookie season. I do think he got better as the year went along. And I think toward the end of the season, he was starting to play some pretty decent football. So is Cam Ward going to be some great quarterback? I'm not willing to say that yet. I don't know. I mean, I didn't see enough in year one where I'm like, yeah, that guy's definitely going to be some great player here moving forward. But I also, Joe, probably did see enough in year one where I have optimism, hope, whatever you want to call it, that he can turn into a pretty good quarterback for the Titans.
He's got a chance. Yeah. Like, I'm less optimistic, and you probably don't agree with this, but I'm less optimistic about him going into the 2026 season than I was about Marcus Mariota going into the 2016 season. And Mariota had his best year in 2016, and then we know what happened. It just kind of leveled off. You're like, yeah, okay, it's just not quite there. Certainly could be possible. And again, I think Mariota showed more as a rookie with a terrible team, just like Cam Ward was on, than Cam did. But obviously what you hope as a Titans fan is that he takes, he takes off and then keeps improving.
Yep.
Whereas, and some of Mario's story certainly was injury related. Not that I think he was ever, you can't look at it now and say, like he was going to be an all pro if he never broke his leg. But that's another thing with Cam, is now you worry about the shoulder.
615-737-1025, our phone number. A lot more of your thoughts to get to on the Titans, the NFL draft, on David Bailey, all that and more coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on Charlotte at First Horizon Park. First pitch at 6:35. Catch all the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Family Leisure and Social Cantina. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on the Titans and the NFL draft. Trevor on the text line says, Titans can't trade up this year. They got to save their ammunition to go after Jeremiah Smith next year, which I understand. Every team in the league is going to be trying to get Jeremiah Smith next year.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah. Well, if the
goes.
Titans are bad enough to have a shot,
It's probably not good.
I mean, at least you have a shot to get him. But imagine the journey from here to there and what that might mean on so many fronts. Yeah.
One texter says, is Bailey going to catch passes and run through the A gap to help Cam on offense? Look, this is kind of what I was talking about with Kuharsky a couple weeks ago, Joe. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the Titans have, some elite offense or anything, or that they've got this bevy of weapons at their disposal out there, because we all know that they don't. We all know that they could use more help at wide receiver. We all know that they could use an upgrade at running back. And that's not even getting into, the problems they could be facing on the offensive line. But I do think we have shifted too far the other way in this conversation, where it's like the Titans just have a bunch of bums on offense. They just signed a guy who in each of the last 2 years has over 90 catches for 1,000 yards. How many 1,000-yard seasons have Titans receivers had in team history? Let me tell you, it's not very many. Go back and look at it. It ain't very many. And not that I think Wan'Dale Robinson is, A.J. Brown or anything, but he is a good player. Like clearly, you don't just walk into 95 catches for over 1,000 yards in the NFL. Okay, you have Ridley, who, by the way, the last time he was healthy was a 1,000-yard receiver. So I mean, I have no idea if Calvin Ridley at the age of 31 is going to be healthy next year. I understand why they kept him. I understand not totally relying on him moving forward. But between those two, DK and Io Manor, this is not the worst receiving group that they've ever thrown out there, right? Like, they've had plenty of years where their receiving group has been worse than this one, and yet we're acting like Cam just has nobody out there on the offensive side of the ball. Don't get me wrong, I need him to have more. I'd like to go get him some more help, right? But I think we've swung this conversation too far the other way, where it's like, well, it's just a bunch of bums on the offensive side of the ball. It's like, well, you got a 1,000-yard receiver the last time he was healthy on your team in Calvin Ridley, and you got a guy the last 2 years in this offense that's caught over 90 balls for 1,000 yards. They're not just completely devoid of talent out there.
No, you're right. And even if they were, I just think people are asking the wrong questions. Like Texter says, if you're a defense, are you worried about Pollard or Ridley? We have to get real legit playmakers sometime. And if not in the draft, when? And to me, the question is at 4, who are you getting? Who are you getting who's a great player? Period. You cannot mess up 4. You can't mess up having that pick and not come away with a great football player. And I'm not saying Jeremiah Love wouldn't be, but as we just have talked about in this show, it is. You can go sign the Super Bowl MVP at running back, who's a really good player in this league. You cannot go sign a top edge player in this league. You won't. You don't get them. They aren't available. And that's the whole thing here. And if you want to just go short term with it, if you're defense, you're worried about Pollard Ridley. Well, I don't know if you're worried about it, but again, the Titans are solid at running back. I don't think they're great. I think Saleh and Borgonzi have overstated how good they are, like relative to the league.
I would agree.
Okay. But they're not, but they actually are fine. They're okay. They're solid. And solid, go position by position with this team. How many of these position groups can you say that about? Not that many. It is as simple as get a great player, but also get a great player that this is your opportunity to get a player like that. I think that's where I lean toward edge. And when you ask the question, we have to get a real legit playmaker sometime, and if not in the draft, when? This is not a one-round draft. you can get playmakers and help this offense after the first round. You 100% can. Go look around the league and compare it to, like you said earlier, Robbie, compare it to how many game-changing edges you get at different parts of the draft versus offensive skill players. There's a difference.
Yeah. Well, by the way, like, let's say they go Bailey at number 4. You can find a running back in the draft later. Like, there are going to be some running backs that go in the 3rd and 4th round in this year's draft that end up being pretty good players in the NFL. Now, maybe they're not Jeremiah Love, but they end up being pretty good players in the NFL. We see it every year. I mean, a young guy who plays for the Bears, he was a 7th rounder last year. He's a really good player for them. He's a very difficult guy to tackle. Like, so the running back part of it, again, Love is going to be, I think, a pretty special player. And I'm not anti-Jeremiah Love. If that's who they end up taking, great. I'll be excited about it. But I just think that we've gone too far in Cam Ward just doesn't have anything on the offensive side of the ball. He does have some things. And by the way, like, he was the number 1 pick in the draft. Some of this is on him, right? Like, he's got to get better. Independent of his health.
Number 1 pick in the draft needs to elevate people. I mean, the biggest concern I have and criticism I have is that these guys have not done enough with the interior of the offensive line. And if it turns out to be, if that's the case, then that is the problem more than, you could upgrade running back over Tony Pollard. Or, again, it's like, we're not talking about a receiver at 4, right? I mean, not realistically, we're not talking about a receiver at 4. I don't think we should be. So again, if you're gonna address that, you're doing it at 35 or later.
Yes. And they will do that at some point. Like, they're going to draft a receiver. Probably, I'd be pretty surprised if they don't draft one in the first 3 rounds, if it doesn't shake out that way, based on the amount of receivers that are going to be available. Now, look, they could draft one at 4. I don't know that any of these receivers are going to be, those game-changing players that Saleh was talking about yesterday that we talked. Like Mike Herndon, I think put it pretty well on the Carnell Tate front, who most people have as the best receiver in this draft. He does a lot of things pretty well. I don't know that he does anything elite, right? And is that what you want to take at number 4? Like, that's a hard, like, at number 4, I need to be walking away with a guy that has a chance to be an elite player at their position. And if that's Jeremiah Love, then that's fine. If that's David Bailey, where you've got a chance to be an elite player at a premium position, and I know we hate using that term sometimes, I am all for that. Like, I need at number 4 overall to be walking away with an elite player.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you were to take a Tate, that to me is a lot like John Robinson knowing they need a receiver, so going with Corey Davis, which is an underrated John Robinson draft mistake for the Tennessee Titans in that 2017 draft. So you definitely don't do that. Texture says, what team has worse weapons than the Titans? The Dolphins? Maybe it's worse than y'all are making it out to be. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be able to, like, quickly give you the diagnosis on the other 31 compared to the Titans. There's a lot of teams that have better weapons. But again, there's also, I mean, I think it is possible for, like, a DK and an Io Manor to get better, right? Like, I think you definitely saw some promise, especially with DK because of his speed in terms of making plays. You definitely will have to upgrade running back. You definitely have to get a number 1 receiver at some point. But again, it's like, guys, there are other picks in this draft. Like, there are going to be good receivers, and I bet you anything that there's going to be a receiver that goes after the first round in this draft that, if not becomes a number 1 receiver for a team, becomes a very productive, and probably more than one guy who will do that. You just have to make the right choice.
615-737-1025, our phone number. A lot of your thoughts to get to on the text line. Keep them coming. We'll get into more of that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Our football offseason coverage presented by Tennessee Brew Works. Raise a glass with Tennessee Brew Works, proud partner and official craft beer of the football offseason coverage here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar, Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com is with us on the program. And let me just be the first to say, we brought this up earlier in the show. We admire PK's dedication to the program. I texted him last night around like 8 o'clock just to check in, see what was going on, whether he was going to be out in Arizona on Zoom today. He was flying back in. He's made it in studio this morning early. He's early this morning after flying across the country last night. PK, let me publicly declare that we appreciate your dedication to this program.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the applause. Got in about midnight. Look, Arizona's great. I can't complain about anything. Productive trip. See a lot of friends, a lot of great camaraderie as well. But I did not sleep out there. I really didn't. And I think today's going to be a big nap day. I have some writing to finish up after the show. And I think I'm going to crash and throw off my sleep after that and continue it. But it's good to be back. Joseph, congratulations on making it to the Final Four, and look forward to more of your work there. I would imagine you guys have discussed this picture that's floating around of Joe on network television.
Oh, we brought it up.
Yeah, but I wasn't here, and I need an explanation for how you – I understand a freeze frame shot is difficult, that we all have bad posing moments, but what possibly could have produced this look?
Well, first of all, okay, I'll answer that question when you answer, did you poach Pelissero's eggs for him?
I did not. I've never poached Pelissero's eggs. I don't know how you've turned into me having Pelissero basically concede he was wrong and apologize to me and unblock me because he was temperamental and a baby into me somehow serving Pelissero. So I'll set the record straight on that. And now back to you.
Okay. I mean, guy, I thought you were kind of nice and gave the guy some eggs. Well, so that face was, so first of all, the reason that it was a screenshot was because the broadcast went back to Steve Lapis because they wanted to get his reaction on a play where Tennessee's Jalen Carey goes up, tips the ball to himself to steal an inbounds pass, takes it the other way and dunks it. And basically my face was, not bad. Jalen Carey did that? Okay. I mean, I don't know. I have a weird face. Like, what do you want me to say?
All right, that's good. I have a weird face.
I think that's exactly what he was looking for.
And then because I was out of town.
But like that expression actually does fit like, ooh, Jalen Carey did that?
No, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit anything.
Oh, okay.
And then just because I was out of town, it was the general reaction to Tennessee like, oh, incredibly choking dogs. Was it Barnes has to be fired because he can't advance beyond this? Was it easy draw up until that game? Like, how did Tennessee make excuses for that? Not the team, the fan base.
Well, I think if you want to criticize the fan base of Tennessee as it relates to men's basketball, it's not making excuses for anything. It's that they're way too down on, like they do not appreciate what Rick Barnes has done for their program. I mean, 3 straight Elite Eights is something a lot of coaches haven't done. Actually, like elite coaches haven't done. So, I mean, I think obviously people were upset / disappointed with how ugly the game was Sunday, but it's also like that. That's a great team that we've known all year was a great team. And Tennessee is not a great team. We've known that all year too, right?
We have.
Okay.
6th seed.
Continue with your show.
Thank you. Let's get to some quick thoughts on the text line. PK with us the rest of the program. We'll take more of your questions on the Titans. Kyle in Shelbyville says, if we could just sign Kevin Zeitler, I'd feel so much better going into the draft. But we've only got about $64 million left in cap space. We can't get crazy with that right now.
It's not about money.
PK, I saw your show with Braden Gall yesterday, kind of talking about this a little bit.
How'd you like the cameos?
It's good stuff. It was good stuff.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this, check it out. There's a rolling cast of famous cameos.
There was.
But Salah came by like literally 3 minutes after we went off the air.
So it sounds like from the way that Borgonzi is talking, your read on it is nothing's going to happen with Zeitler at least before the draft at this point.
No, and I would set aside your desire, not your desire, but your expectation on Zeitler. I just think they're looking to be younger and to maybe have a full-time practice guy there for the sake of the unit and for the sake of the continuity of the entire offense and all of that. So I think they'd have to really strike out in the draft and really not like Volson, Schlottman, Slater early in OTAs for whatever kind of read you can get about them to decide to go back to that. Well, I think the thinking maybe has evolved there. And maybe some of it too is more of a developing confidence in Latham. I think part of the early desire to have Zeitler back was for Latham to lean on him, and maybe they're thinking that he doesn't need that to the degree that they maybe thought he did, something along those lines. I think it is shocking, this idea that, hey, if we draft two guys and they wind up being the best guys, we'll start two. I think it's awfully ambitious to think that you'll match Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. Trey Smith obviously was a huge exception, a guy that slid and then overcame the big medical concerns that left him there in the 6th round when he was probably Joe, a 3rd round talent.
Yeah, 3rd round talent. Yeah.
So it's a big concern, and you guys were talking about and you got there, receivers and running backs and all of that. When the biggest concern on the offense is once again offensive line, really, if you want to solidify that group.
Well, we were talking about this, this number, this all this money that they have that they haven't spent. I mean, there haven't been that many options, right? But there were some centers who cost a lot of money, who I'd feel a lot better about this team right now had they been able to lock up someone at that position for your young quarterback who we know is a good starter. And we also know that, they went out and got Cushenberry a couple of years ago, and that didn't work out as you hope. But that to me is the one thing that I look back on it with free agency, especially if there's any sort of issue, shuffling, inconsistency in the interior of that offensive line. You're going to look back and say, man, you had the money to go spend on someone, and it seemed like it was kind of dismissed from the start. Like, no way we're spending that kind of money on a center.
Well, Herndon brought this
up. Not on Linderbaum, who I think they thought, is too overpriced and is not like a perfect player by any means.
Yeah.
But then other guys disappeared. I mean, they never had a chance at McGovern. They never had a chance at Biotish. So that market shriveled up. I think that's the one thing. I don't know if it surprised them. It just changed.
Yeah, I mean, Herndon was talking about that yesterday on the show, saying, I don't know if they misread the market, but it didn't play out the way they thought it was going to. Like, people clearly they thought were going to get to free agency that ultimately did not make it to free agency.
And then
so you sit there with all the money now, and then you just hope you're not sitting there with a crappy interior offensive line in the fall.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not a great spot to be in.
I do think they thought Schlottman. Have we concluded that it's Schlottman?
I believe Schlottman is it.
I think so.
I really want to say Schlottman.
That's right.
I mean, I think he should change it to what it looks like it should be. But we'll discuss that with him when we see him in person.
Yes, please do.
I certainly will. If he's the type of guy that seems up for such a conversation, I certainly will have it. I think they concluded, the 4 games of him, which were good, and his work with the Giants was as good as some of the secondary guys who have played more, like Luke Fortner, who I know they were interested in, who, got demoted by the Jaguars, but then wound up playing for the Saints ultimately. I think they looked at 2 guys like that and said, well, Schlottman is as good or better. So there, I feel good. Like, hey, they made a judgment there. But I'm also, later today I'll have a piece. This was the first time we had a chance to talk to Borgonzi and Sala about all of these connected guys, which, I think is they both said really is playing it safe. We know these guys, and a lot of times when you bring in somebody for big money that you don't know, they bust. But I talked to Vrabel about that too. He brought in some guys he knew, but they also went out and found guys that they didn't know.
Yep.
Where you have to make educated gambles, and that was a thing that got the Patriots to the AFC Championship game. I mean, to the AFC title.
615. Go ahead.
Hey, real quick, PK. Next time you talk to Alontae Taylor, ask him if he'll change his first name to Touchdown.
That was a non sequitur.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, you thought wrong.
Well, I'm laughing at it. I'll laugh amongst myself.
Make that face when you laugh.
Our phone number 615-737-1025. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. PK will be with us the remainder of the show. We welcome your Titans questions on our text line. Robby and Rexrode 1025 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
More videos, less articles, please.
Call me a baby or old school or whatever.
The horses, nice looking.
Thank you
Because
for recognizing my
Kim
good
Dunaway-
looks.
I mean, I don't know. I have a weird face. Yeah, I mean, someone in the SEC thinks I'm hot.
All right, now let's
Listen.
talk about Legarius Sneed, folks, all right?
Oh, look at the cute raccoon with rabies.
The Titans are coming. The Titans are coming.
Love the city of Boston and just hate the people.
But we wouldn't know because I'm the only one on camera.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant here on Robby and Rexrode.
Yeehaw.
Good, big, and rich in the background. Joseph, the floor is yours.
Yes. John Rich was PK's buddy.
My nemesis.
You'll never guess who else is his buddy based on the story I just heard.
Fortunately, he's John Rich has kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. Like, when's the last time anybody heard anything about that guy?
I don't know.
We're keeping his memory alive.
He's not dead.
The memory of him as a prominent public figure.
There you go.
All right. I'm going to talk a little bit about my former company, and it also is a company that formerly employed Paul Kuharsky.
Which is kind
Now,
of dead.
I will not be like PK. I have a lot of friends, a lot of people I respect in that company. I really have no complaints. 21 years in that company. I don't really have any complaints. PK, I used to listen to him.
How not?
It's not really, not massive ones. I mean, I remember listening to you like, it's a trash product. You should only read paulkuharsky.com. I'm not going to do that, but I do have an issue with Gannett. Okay. I have an issue and we have to address, this has to change. This is so stupid. Now they did the AI thing and they kind of got shamed out of that. Right. So I'm going to read from Aria Gerson's story from, I think, Sunday on the Vanderbilt Tennessee baseball series. And by the way, not a criticism of Aria. She does a great job, friend of the show. But here's the paragraph, second paragraph about Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt, quote, Vanderbilt won all 3 games via walk-off. 3-2 win in 10 innings on March 27th, 6-5 in 16 innings on March 28th, and 16-15 on March 29th. In other words, as any other outlet in the entire freaking world would say, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But in Gannett, you now have to say the date. And do you understand how clunky and stupid that is? I mean, it's absolutely incredible. So in May, they changed the policy. And let me see if I can find the I had it, of course. Yeah, here we go. So this is a USA Today Network style. Says, quote, because of the permanence of stories in digital, we will discontinue the practice of using days of the week within 7 days of publication, as well as using today, yesterday, or tomorrow. We will now only use the month and the date. Did these people not understand that every story has the date on it?
It's true.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Clunky is absolutely the right word. And
like
it
you
would slow
have
me
the
down
date.
and make me bow out of some stories. Reading.
It's so about 12 years ago, we being in Gannett, we changed from, if you covered a game that was Thursday, we changed to just say today. Okay. Which was weird. I didn't love it. But again, it was like, well, the date is at the top of the story, so you're identifying that it's today. Like at The Athletic, and I think at most places, it's just like if you covered a game that happened on Friday, you say the game happened Friday, and again, the date is at the top of the story permanently. I mean, why not, Gannett? Why not? Why stop here? How about March 28th, 2026? They beat him March 27th, 2026, and then March 28th, 2026, and March 29th, 2026. Why don't we do that? How about we say that, and we'll say, and in the second millennium AD. Why don't we do that? Let's say all that, and for every time you say a date.
They're probably listening and heading that direction.
I mean, again, yeah, there are issues within any large corporation. There are some weird policies. There's some weird stuff that went on during my time. For the most part, it's fine. Stuff like this is like just any of you, and I promise you that we have a lot of friends there, people respect. Anybody listening to this right now, I promise you is nodding in agreement like, oh my God, seriously, what are we doing? I mean, someone use a shred of common sense in Gannett. Thank you.
It is a really, really stupid policy that makes it very awkward to read, which is another reason not to read.
It's another reason to go to Kuharsky.com.
Do you say March 29th? Do you say the date? You
I
say today?
Today, yesterday,
go.
tomorrow. Within a week, right?
You say tomorrow? Ooh, tomorrow. I don't know, man. I don't know about tomorrow. I think you should say the day.
Oh, yeah, I probably said the day.
You want to be the editor for PaulKuharsky.com?
Wow. If he's going to start saying tomorrow,
I said
yeah, okay, that's fine.
Up to
we approve.
Up to a week, right?
Would you trust Rexrode to edit your stories?
Yeah. I have occasionally, I do not have an editor, obviously. many people know that. Once in a while, I'll send Rexrode something for a thought.
He will. I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, happy to do it. I'm here. I'm here to help.
He's not the only one. I mean, I have many friends in the business.
You got an army.
He's very popular. Very popular. Did you ever send any to Tom Pelissero?
No.
Did he edit any of your stories?
Pelissero is not at the top of my list right now. I mean, my Pelissero problem is one piece where he lists 163 potential head coaches.
Well, that's been solved.
Which could stop. No, it has.
Well, I mean, it's been solved in terms of he now can view your tweets. That's good.
Yeah. But it's a ridiculous annual habit, which is and needs to be known. And a lot of my colleagues appreciate that I police it, that it's a thank you to my sources love letter every year. And that shouldn't be permitted without notice. And so I do the noticing.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit discerning within that, right? You got to be a little bit discerning. If you're just gonna say every possible name, then no one's gonna take it seriously. It's like, okay, you're just saying everybody who's even remotely hireable
and who's remotely helped you.
Eli on the text line says, don't forget to add the hour, minute, and second that a game started and ended. One texter says on March 29th, but at what time? I can't stand not to know exactly which second an event happens when reading a story there. Maybe that gets added to the mix.
Yeah, that's a good point. Time, weather. Add in weather.
I mean, on the off
partly
chance,
cloudy skies.
Like the one
under a blue-gray October sky.
It was balmy.
The one time every quarter where you might write poetry, to clunk it down with the date, it really kills your chances.
It's really so bad. Yeah, it makes you stop as a reader. And again, you have the date on the story.
How about this one? Joey from Bellevue says, speaking of PaulKuharsky.com, I just got a notification from PayPal that I paid for my subscription. Keep up the awesome work.
Wow, we got a renewal.
PK getting it done.
I mean, people in here just applauding a lot today.
PK is getting it done out there. We got PK with us the remainder of the show.
Don't do April Fool's Day jokes unless you're 12. Just that's my public notice.
Public service announcement.
There you go.
Frankly, I forgot it was April Fool's Day, so I guess I need to be on the lookout for that.
I'm actually upset that I didn't try something already. Dang it.
PK with us the remainder of the show. We welcome your Titans questions.
In the Tennessee.
That's right. He could have been right there for you. Robby and Rexrode 102.5 The Game.
Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through.
Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com with us for the rest of the hour on Robby and Rexrode. We welcome your Titans questions at 615-737-1025. PK, fresh off a trip to Phoenix for the NFL owners meetings going on out there. Robert Saleh speaking yesterday. Mike Borgonzi speaking on Monday. PK, you were there for both of them. I've said this before. I think Borgonzi in particular has mastered the art of what I've seen a lot of general managers master, which is saying a lot, but not really saying that much at all. What's kind of the maybe one or two overarching takeaways that you have from Borgonzi and Saleh out in Arizona the last couple of days?
Yeah, Borgonzi did a good job of not saying a ton. I thought we touched on it already. I thought the most telling thing from him was this idea that, hey, if two rookie offensive linemen turn out to be the best options we have, there would be no hesitation for the Titans to have a rookie center and a rookie right guard. And somehow, as I don't think this market, and certainly the three of us, and certainly I, have not consciously gotten away from offensive line talk, but maybe there is a little offensive line fatigue. They've addressed a lot of other things. We've paid a lot of attention to other positions where they have holes, and we've let them slide for a little while on the offensive line. They've moved from maybe more tackle problems now to interior problems. I mean, if offensive line is a big issue for this team again, and it has been so for quite some time now, it's really going to be, and Joe hates when I talk DNA, but here's this would be a third regime that has these extensive problems and thinks it can fix it, in now another way. I mean, even the same regime went out and spent $22 million a year on Dan Moore, who's not good. They know what they have, average at best there. They're a year away from needing to fix that. And so in 2 years, they're going to need to fix 3/5 of this line. May the best man win. Saleh says the guys who are in have the lead by being in. It's got the potential to be a real mess. Training camp battles aren't what they once were, so it's going to be a talent thing. And I think hoping for Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith is prayerful. So that's the biggest one from Borgonzi to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like even like you said, the competition's not the same that they used to be. I mean, it's like practice time. All that stuff has been cut down, and that's, the players, that's in the CBA and things like that. But that has made it a lot more difficult, right? It's the competition, but just even like offensive line, young player development has been stunted somewhat by that.
You've got to be, all that said, it's the same everywhere around the league. And so you let them compete at what they can compete at and pick the best one. The feeling I got in talking to some people around the league is, there are interior offensive linemen, that have in the middle rounds. And Borgonzi said this, other people kind of confirmed it. They have like warts, so to speak, but not warts that make them unplayable. You can plug and play if you find the right guy, you can plug and play him. He's going to have a deficiency the same way a fourth round whatever is going to have a deficiency. Doesn't make him unplayable. Now, do you want it in the guy who's given the ball to Cam every snap? It's a less than ideal place maybe to have it. And you want that guy to be setting protections in a way that takes things away from Cam. So now you want a really smart guy. Then Connor Lew, one of the best guys, is coming off an ACL tear. So that's got to downgrade his value a little bit. And he's not ready for the beginning of the season. And the first year off an ACL isn't the same and all of that. But this is a primo position of need. I think you've got to take one of them first 3 rounds, first 4 rounds for sure, which then again knocks out a potential edge rusher, a potential wide receiver, a potential corner. I think also reestablished they need nickel options because Alante Taylor's not playing nickel. And so they've got, a nickel corner in Marcus Harris, and their big nickel will be their third safety, and it will not be Kevin Winston, who is locked in at safety. And so that's Tony Adams. You comfortable with either of those guys? They need competition at least for those guys. So put that back on the list or reemphasize that on a draft list. So interior offensive line, you probably need 2. Nickel, you need at least 1, maybe 2. And that's added to the list that we already had of receiver and whatever. And another thing I think that was big from Borgonzi, he does not like, he was pretty candid about this, doesn't like running backs beyond Love in this draft, doesn't think much of the group. So you're talking about a room that either adds Jeremiah Love or probably stays the same, which is pretty drastic difference.
That's a pretty drastic difference. And I did find it interesting. We talked about this to begin the show. I thought, obviously I was not there. I watched the Saleh press conference in its entirety. You were there for both of them, and you were with Borgonzi. It felt like to me, both of them at different points, I don't know if went out of their way is the right way to characterize it, but brought up kind of unprompted the running back room and how much they like the current running back room as is. Like I think Saleh said yesterday that he thinks it's one of the top rooms in the league or something like that. One of the better rooms in the league is the way that he phrased it, which I agree. I think that's a pretty strong statement, but
did he just mean personality?
Am I reading too much into, how much they're kind of talking up their current running back room?
Well, the team had been saying this behind the scenes before. So it's not like they said, hey, let's deliver a new message on this. They did run well the last 6 weeks of the season. They averaged 118 yards a game. One bad game there, 77 yards, but 4 games before that, over 100 and well over 100 in some of them. Randy Jordan was retained as the running back coach. I think Pollard can be an effective back. The thing is, the chances to turn a 20-yard run into a 40-yard run aren't happening there. I don't like Spears as a between the tackle runner. I don't think he's proven that. I do think they think that Mullings will be, better, and he didn't have much of a chance. His rookie year was kind of ruined by injury. Is that a great group? No.
Is it a top half of the league group?
Nah, I don't think so. Maybe right in the middle. Like you said about the receiver group, I'd have to go look through the league there are probably some more disappointing groups than we think around the league. And then again, that interior offensive line's got direct bearing on Cam. It's got a direct bearing on this running game. But the other thing, that Saleh talked about here, but when talking about Love, that I thought was pretty game changers, and he certainly sounds like a guy that is thinking a top edge rusher can be as much of a game changer as a running back. And he's not talking who scores touchdowns. He's talking who makes a big play at a big moment. And sure sounds like, hey, David Bailey is just as capable of making a big play at a big moment as Jeremiah Love is.
Well, I mean, I could argue that a great edge player is more of a game changer than a running back.
Yeah, so he
doesn't have the ball in his hands 25 times in a game, but and again, then that's not even factoring in again just the reality of acquiring those two positions and how they compare in that way. It's a massive difference.
He talked right into the positional value conversation that we've been having for weeks.
Yeah, exactly. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Lots more to get into with PK. We welcome more of your questions. Keep them coming on the text line. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. 1025 The Game and Team Boxing League have teamed up for your chance to win a pair of VIP tickets as Nashville Smash takes on Phoenix Fury at Municipal Auditorium coming up Friday, April 17th. Just text the keyword FIGHT to the game text line at 615-737-1025. Ed on the text line throwing this out there. What impression do you think this staff has of Amani Hooker? Is he a good fit next to Winston? BK, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. It was a rough year for Amani Hooker this past year. How much of that is him and where he's at as a player? How much of that is just the absolute terribleness of the defense around them, for lack of a better word, at this point? You know, he's 27 years old, so he's not that old. He has gone through some injuries in his career. Not a great year from Hooker last year. How are you feeling about him heading into this next season with Saleh, his defensive scheme, and maybe that pairing together of Hooker and Winston?
He feels older than 27, doesn't he?
He does.
Based on the injuries and also based on the fact that the Titans don't have a lot of guys who've been around for a long time. So Hooker rates as one of the senior most guys, right?
Wily veteran.
Hooker's a no-nonsense guy, quality guy in the room. He did not have a good year, excuse me, and he was not as forthcoming about not having a good year as I would have expected. Slowed down, which was the biggest thing. He's never a blazer, but seemed slower. And so I think the Titans have to be hoping that it was a slowdown in processing because of all of the terrible corner play around him as Snead disappeared and Brownlee disappeared and McCreary disappeared.
They made them disappear, by the way.
Yeah, and then they got dinged up, and we're really. I've said it's going to be a trivia question. Like the starting corners of that last game are unnameable people outside of Daryl Baker Jr. So Saleh emphasized interchangeable safeties. So Winston and Hooker are playing the same position, really. I want to see Winston cover better and run better. He was near the line of scrimmage a lot. And for a third round pick in the box safety, it doesn't do it for me. A lot of people are a lot higher on him based on what they saw last year than I was. I think he's got potential, and I'm looking forward to seeing him expand. But Amani Hooker's got to be the least of their problems with all of these new stuff, and hopefully will be a glue guy that helps Flott and Taylor and the kid from Kansas City that they got, and these new potential nickels and everything. And look, this whole thing is built on a much faster pass rush with 4. If they've got numbers and coverage and they're getting to the quarterback, everything gets easier for Amani Hooker and everybody in the back end.
Yeah, we talked earlier this week about Kevin Byard 2020, right? Like it was like there was a lot of coverage that year, a lot of discussion about, man, what is going on with KB? And he made some bad plays that are just inexcusable, but also he played on a defense with absolutely zero pass rush and so much more pressure. And as we have obviously seen, he was not over the hill. He looked a lot better a year later when all of a sudden they could get after the quarterback.
Yeah, Hooker's not the player Byard was, but a similar resurgence at his level of play is certainly, that's a good point, possible for him, surrounded by a much better level of talent, which has happened for Byard.
Let me ask you the same question that I asked Mike Herndon yesterday. Let's play this out that the Titans draft David Bailey at number 4, and your front 4 consists of Bailey, Simmons, John Franklin Myers, Jermaine Johnson. Obviously there's a rotation to that, but that's your front 4.
That's a damn good 4.
That's pretty good. Like how much when you factor in not only that, but everything else they've done on defense and via free agency, plus the coach that's now in there, how much better are we talking from last year to this year on defense?
I think, significantly better. Also, I mean, I haven't looked team for team at the schedule, but I think that, they're not playing the high level schedule that they played last year. I think it's favorable defensively. And while I understand universally we're not super satisfied with what they've done on offense. I heard you when I was driving in saying, maybe underrating the healthy Ridley plus Wandale plus growth of Io Manor and DK. Even plus the Pollard we saw at the end of the season. Not fantastic, but serviceable for sure. If they get that offensive line patched up, they need to score more than 17. Dayball needs to get them in the 20s. But if they score 20, this defense, I think, it's reasonable to expect them keeping teams under 20. And can this team win games 2017? I think that would be a score that I could see being something this team is capable of posting on a Sunday against the more average teams on their schedule.
Well, and also, like, a lot of this discussion just gets into the argument over like the first round pick, but there are other picks.
Yes.
If they don't go, like if they go with Bailey, if Bailey's there, they get Bailey. They are going to I would be willing to probably bet a reasonable sum of money that with the second or third round pick or both, they're going to do something to directly help Cam Ward's side of the ball. And people seem to be forgetting that sometimes with the whole, like, you have to get Love. You can't pass that up.
I'm very impatient about receiver and high level receiver. And I understand that, it's not the best top heavy receiver class.
Yeah, like you wouldn't take one of these guys at 4, right?
No, I think Tate would be a prime guy in a trade down scenario. But I also, and I have a video recorded that I haven't put up yet. I am really trying to come around on not being married to this. You got to run a 4-4 kind of thing. And Tate at 4.53, where there's some controversy about, I'm not going to spill everything I learned. Watch for this video. But I learned more about his speed and talking to some people at the owners' meetings. I would be very satisfied with Carnell Tate on this team. Not at 4, no, but in a trade down scenario. And I am very anxious for this team to finally spend. You can't just keep having scenarios where you wind up in the 4th round. And I like Io Manor and DK. But you need to, and I like Femi. I like the potential of Femi Oladejo, but we said after last year, like, those guys fill it in, but you need to cap it with something in front of it. Well, there are only so many positions where you could cap it with something in front of it because you only have so many picks in front of it. That's why I feel like, I was talking about this with Braden Gall yesterday. You can only go in front of so many positions. And that's why I feel like Love is such a luxury, because I feel like you need the end to go in front of Oladejo and those guys to cap it. And you need the receiver to go in front of those guys to cap it. And if you do those two things, there's no room for Love. He was saying, on the other hand, just do the best you can everywhere. And within 2 years, you get all of those things. I'm very impatient at receiver. I'm sick of waiting.
Let's head back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Adam in Portland to the program. Adam, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, Robby, man. Hey, PK, so if there's a scenario, I got 2 things for you. If there's a scenario where the Titans could trade back out of 4, somebody loves Love and wants to jump up and get him, and you could still get somebody like Bain, would you do that? Also, for the receiver part, would you not say that Jawan Jennings would be a better fit in this offense than Calvin Ridley? I think Ridley is not quite the worker, man. Like, I would say I would concede that he's more talented than Jawan Jennings, but I think Jawan Jennings would outwork him like 10 times.
Did you go to UT?
In practice, no, I didn't go to UT. I am a fan. That's just coming from a homer, but I've said it and I've seen it the entire way. Back when the Vols sucked, Jawan Jennings was the only one competing in those Alabama games. Like, he wasn't ever scared of teams like that. So he's the guy that I always look at and go, he's going to outwork everybody on the field, even if he's not the best player.
Calvin Ridley works. Calvin Ridley works really hard. So, I mean, you can pump up Jawan Jennings' work ethic, but I wouldn't do it at the expense of Calvin Ridley's work ethic. Look,
but didn't Calvin Ridley come out and say that he gave up in practice one day or didn't finish running? Like, that's on record. Like, but that's not, you're not ever going to see that when you watch it.
Well, he said, he didn't finish a route or something on one specific day and one specific thing. I mean, so you're going to replace him with Juwan Jennings because Jennings would have run that one route harder than Calvin Ridley did on a frustrating day.
Well,
it's very situational and small.
The other part of this is like
100%.
I don't know how like Jennings hasn't landed anywhere yet, which tells me that he's asking for way too much.
Is making an assessment on him. I don't have a problem with Calvin Ridley being back. He and Cam Ward have a real feel for each other. I wouldn't have minded Juwan Jennings landing here, but in addition to Calvin Ridley, not instead of him, given what Ridley has with Ward right now.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Lots more to get to with PK.
And that means Dayball has a feel for
Yes.
Ridley. And I think we're all starting with, hey, let's see what Dayball likes.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on the Titans at 615-737-1025. Paul Kuharsky back from Arizona. PK, the Super Bowl timeline, you wrote about this at paulkuharsky.com the other day. So with Vegas being awarded the Super Bowl in 2029, the earliest we're looking at here in Nashville with the stadium and the Super Bowl coming would be 2030. Doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's coming in 2030, but what's your sense for what that timeline could look like for the stadium with the Super Bowl at some point with the first season coming in 2027 for the new Nissan Stadium?
I think they'll get it in 2030. Very, very likely. And I think the Titans' feeling is, and they certainly would have liked to have gotten 2029, but and Burke Nihill told me this on the record, the fact that Los Angeles SoFi Stadium, a jewel, got a return in 5 years. It's there this year. And now Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas is getting a return in 5 years. Titans are optimistic that that means when they get it, that if they do well with it, if Nashville does well with it, which I think we all presume will happen. Yep. It's been a while since Nashville's put on an NFL event, but the draft was a raging success here. It's not the same scope, but we know Nashville can put on big events. CMA Fest every year is really well done. Nashville gets a Super Bowl, puts on a great Super Bowl. It could get in that kind of 5-year cycle. Now, the 5 years might be a little fast because Washington's going to have a new stadium and they're going to get one. Chicago probably gets a one-off cold weather game. Kansas City could get a one-off cold weather game. You know, I don't know about Cleveland if they've got the logistics for it. Buffalo's certainly not getting one. But our cities like New Orleans, Miami, Tampa Bay, despite warm weather status and history of putting on really good games, going to fall behind because those stadiums are not SoFi and Allegiant and Nissan Stadium with the new bells and whistles that make them more attractive for the game day. And Nashville clearly and Las Vegas have great footprints.
Chicago's not getting one.
Chicago,
Gary, Indiana. Is that where the media hotel will be? Gary.
Well, I mean, listen.
Here it's fun in February.
So, you know, a lot of these things are really spread out. Glendale, Arizona is not exactly in Phoenix.
No, but it's in Arizona, so at least people can like walk outside and not die. So, I mean, come on.
I think Chicago will get a one-off.
So to add to this real quickly, just because I actually have talked to a couple people here recently with some knowledge, I would definitely expect. I'm with you. I think that Nashville absolutely can get into like one of the like it'll like what did it used to be, PK? Basically, you'd have like New Orleans, Miami always, like those were always rotating, you know, and then you have some different ones in California and stuff like that. But I think, SoFi, Vegas, Nashville, I think we're going to see somewhat steady diets of that. I also think that not only are we going to get a Final Four, but I think that that's going to be, I think there's a lot of interest in that becoming not quite what Indy is. Indy, for people who don't, Indy has the Final Four again this year. I mean, it's like every 3-4 years Indy gets it because it's just like, it just works out as an event city, and also the NCAA's here. Like, there's a lot of reasons, but I think Nashville might become as regular as any other non-Indy city eventually when it comes to the Final Four.
Will we get college football national championship or?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, and the thing about that is you have right now they have the model where they have the title game being, farmed out different cities. So certainly I would expect us to get that. But I think beyond that, we just like, what does it look like when they expand it? How many bowl games are involved when they expand it? Right. All that stuff. I mean, it could be more regular than the occasional title game. I just don't know what it's going to look like.
Burke Nihill, in terms of speaking of expansion, said they can add thousands to the 60, but not get to 70. So I'm thinking 64, 65. The league seems incredibly comfortable with that. Here's what can't happen. Now, Atlanta recovered from cold weather Super Bowl. We all know 99 was semi-disastrous when the Titans were there. I was right in the middle of that, and it was not good. But they've hosted, they're hosting at least their second since in 2 years. Dallas did not recover from an ice storm Super Bowl, though I talked to a couple people from Dallas who tell me that's the most profitable Super Bowl in history. Now, that's largely because of the stadium size, but they still have.
It's a terrible place for a Super Bowl.
Well,
it's
yeah,
not good.
The footprint terrible. They need to condense it somewhat, and they had an ice storm there and did not recover, have not recovered really from that. If we had the January 24th, 25th ice storm here with an 18-game schedule, the average date of the Super Bowl I calculated would be February 11th. We still would have had remnants of problems. Now, it didn't hit downtown, but it wouldn't have been a great look if a huge share of Nashville area population was still without power while we were hosting the biggest party in the country for a week. So there would be a lot of prayerfulness that kind of ice storm we get, every 3 years or so, wouldn't hit that year.
For sure. And again, if you're listening and you're wondering, like, what's that got to do with the Super Bowl? It's beyond just the game. Like, obviously, the game itself would be indoors in a stadium, but there's so much that goes on around it.
Las Vegas officials, while celebrating at a press conference, said that their Super Bowl, which is 2 years ago now, had over 300 events connected to the Super Bowl, and that number's only going up.
Right.
But also, Nashville doesn't need any new infrastructure connected to it in terms of convention centers, hotels, all of the event space, all of that. And the NFL might even tell you that the footprint is too good. Like, where are the teams going to be? Well, somebody would practice at Vanderbilt and somebody would practice conceivably at the Titans facility. That's too close for a lot. A team likes to be out somewhere. Somebody would, I don't know, Gaylord is too, you like to be isolated and away. I don't know where isolated and away is necessarily.
You're down there in Franklin. Let's head back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome Spencer to the program. Spencer, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, guys, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Dan Moore situation. I'm really worried that we're going to go into the draft next year with the 9th or 10th pick, sitting there with some great receivers and other edge rushers, and there's great talent, and we're going to end up having to talk about the left tackle again. So that being said, would you all consider drafting a developmental guy in the 3rd round with 66, just so that for year 3 of Cam, you could have that guy compete with Dan Moore versus kind of winding up in this situation where we're talking about left tackle all next offseason?
Joe's in favor of this, but you can't draft a guy to compete with Dan Moore in the 2nd or 3rd round when you need a starting center and a starting right guard. So I think you've got too much frontline stuff that you need help with. You're not in a position where you can look a year out. You have to wait until next year to look a year out.
Yeah. But my answer to that question is at 66 as an offensive tackle, the best player on your board, then you consider it. Right. And if
leaving holes
true,
at center and guard.
Sure. I mean, if that's true, well, PK, I'm big on being a smart franchise that gets the best possible football players. You have so many needs. You're like, I hear what you're saying about immediate issues. You also have done some things that you apparently think could address those issues, right? I mean, my God, if you have to go interior line because you screwed up free agency so bad that you got bigger issues than we're even discussing. So if the best player available is a tackle, first of all, if that's true at that spot, that means you got someone who could potentially start this year, right? I mean, I don't think that's not like a third round
and you're
tackle.
putting a $22 million guy on the bench.
I understand that. But you are going to have to address that. Like you have, like they are
number one need for 2027.
Yeah. So that's why I was in favor of if there was someone who actually was good enough at that position at 4. I was, as I've said, and I've taken a lot of crap for it. I don't think you just dismiss that out of hand. It appears that that's not the case. Fine. But no, I
Who knows?
think,
Cardinals may take 1 at 3.
Well, that's
You
true.
hope the Cardinals take
And
one.
and if the smart Cardinals are going to do that, then maybe you need to look into that. Is it Maui Goa? Is that who people think if they take a tackle? Yeah.
And
When I think
you
smart,
also
I
leave
think
open
Arizona Cardinals. You're
also
right.
leave
Exactly.
open the possibility here of taking a later round tackle who, look, it's not the preferred path. Odds are your left tackle is going to be a high draft pick. But, depending on how they fill out this other stuff, if you see a tackle in the 5th or 6th who you say in a year, that guy can be a contender for left tackle for us, has traits, I wouldn't hesitate to make that move for a second. Then a year from now, maybe he eases your burden or maybe he doesn't. But those are the kind of flyers you take.
One more segment with PK coming up next. More of your questions to get to on the Titans. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Swing by John Daly's, located at 1907 Division Street in Nashville, this Saturday for a basketball watch party you don't want to miss. Brought to you by Good Boy Vodka. Enjoy $25 Good Boy Bucket specials and 102.5 The Game. Be on site from 5 to 7 with prizes and more. Don't miss it, only at John Daly's. PK with us, final segment of the day. One texter, going back to the Dan Moore conversation, says, next year you have to start thinking about replacing Latham too. No indication that he's worthy of a fifth-year option. I was encouraged by the last, I'd say, 7-8 games of the year last year for Latham. Thought he started to play better, took a turn. Now, I need that to be what he is and better than that from the jump this year. I said it last year. If you walked away from year 2 and you weren't pretty confident that J.C. Latham was a, franchise foundational level right tackle, that's a problem. I don't know that you're confident in that right now, but I did feel better towards the last 7-8 games of the year that he started to figure some things out. And now I need to see him be ready from the jump next year.
Yeah, you need to see what Latham does this year. You don't need to start planning on replacing him yet. New coach. He had a good mindset last offseason. Then I think with the bad coaching staff, with the change of offensive line coach during the season, with the lingering hip stuff, it did, I think, settle in down the stretch. But on the one hand, he seems very mindful, like he knew he needed to lose weight and everything. I think he's got some pride in his game. On the other hand, I think he needs to be led. And so, who's the leader of that line now? Kuharsky. But look, they're counting a lot on Carmen Brasillo. How good a coach is Carmen Brasillo? If he's what he's been advertised to be, I would expect J.C. Latham is coachable for him. And if that's the case, then J.C. Latham should turn into a first-round caliber guy, or at least a quality guy.
Oh, that's encouraging because they only had one of the best offensive line coaches ever previously coaching him. So let's go to the coaching as a reason for optimism. That's exciting.
What I understand what you're saying, but I don't you think that Bill Callahan was just an anomaly, and somehow you had Titans luck there, where you had an all-time great offensive line coach come and not paying out. And
Latham got better after he
now
left.
They've got a young up-and-comer who everybody says is good. Are we going to presume the next good line coach is automatically going to be bad because of Titans DNA, which you argue isn't a thing?
No, PK, but what we might argue is that Bill Callahan had crappy linemen and couldn't do anything. There's a limitation to all coaching. That'd be the bigger concern, right?
Bill Callahan historically has picked good offensive linemen, and he picked J.C. Latham. Yeah. So did all of a sudden he start picking bad offensive linemen?
I don't know. I guess we're going to find out.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
A couple of quick things. First of all, the YouTube chat. You guys got to get your crap together the rest of this week. Like Levis stuff. We can we're going to argue.
Yeah, we're about to permaban Will Levis discussion.
but Mark on the YouTube chat is like the Titans drafting of Cam Ward was a political optics move, which then he says like a shiny new toy. It's a face of franchise, a wipe the stink up. The point is they drafted him to be a great player. They thought, I don't know if he will be, but they're drafting him to play quarterback well. That's actually the point of drafting quarterback number 1 overall.
Hey, we don't have a quarterback, but never mind that. Let's make a political optics move.
Yeah. Now, quickly on the text line, which has been better than the YouTube chat today. Question is, are you Titans done spending this offseason? Any truth to the observation their annual cash budget is tied to the annual cap limit? Like current projected cash outlay plus draft class has them close to the 2026 cap on cash spent. Cash versus cap, PK.
Who do you never mind all that. Like, are they done spending? These people think that there's like a continual market of talent out there. Let me teach you about free agency. About 2 weeks into free agency, all the good players are gone. And the Titans were active early, even with secondary players, they got a couple guys who are second and third string on their depth chart to flesh out the depth chart. And they did that work earlier than you usually do. But who is it that you want now? A lot of people want the Bosa that's free. And maybe if they fail in the draft in a bigger way than we would expect, they'd look at that guy. But they're generally not looking for old people. They want to be a young, ascending team. patching in some of these guys with 2-year deals while they fill in the team with this draft and the next draft and the draft after that. But people who think that the Titans are going to have another big shopping spur need to go look at what's available on the market, which ain't much in terms of people who are going to come in and help you.
Joe, how old did you guess Joey Bosa is?
Joey Bosa. Gosh, I remember covering a game, Big Ten championship game, Michigan State, Ohio State, Vrabel on the losing sideline, Urban Meyer about to cry into his pizza, and I think he was a freshman, and that would have been 13, so I'm going to do 13 years later, so I'm going to do 32 years old.
He's 30. You could have told me he was 38, and I'd said, yep, sure. But he's 30.
He's only 30. He was like 17 then. He was unbelievable.
A lot of
too.
injuries.
My God. Yeah.
A lot of injuries. Two things the Titans really are shopping for is age and injury.
Fits the mold. PK, thank you for being with us. We admire your dedication to the program
I
today.
appreciate your admiration and find it appropriate. Don't block the box and be sure to lock your
Maybe
lock.
a little bit limited, but pretty good.
Rexrode never even acknowledged the admiration.
No, he never does.
That does it for us today on the program. We'll be back 6 a.m. tomorrow. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.